Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
She woke up at 3 a.m. and saw this. A woman named Cassandra moved into a new house with her boyfriend, and strange things started to happen around the house. On one night, Cassandra is woken up at 3 a.m. to some disturbing sounds. The gate moves by itself, and a pale figure in black can be seen just standing there, watching her in the darkness.
That's more terrifying than any ghost or paranormal video I've ever seen. The timing of that knock was a bit suspicious though, as if it were all planned. But if it wasn't, and this is a real situation that was caught on video, I'd rather be in a clearly haunted house than to be in that situation. If a stranger is lurking outside your house at 3 a.m., they could only have bad intentions. That was absolutely terrifying. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to find out that this was some part of a film project though. It's just so well timed.
There is so much of our past hidden under what we think are just piles of rocks. But upon closer inspection, they are anything but. Signs of the many resets of our realm are not to just be found in the many layers of dried mud beneath us. As we look at some of these magnificent structures from ancient civilizations long past, that are said to be carved from hammer and chisel, you can see a clear melting type destruction pattern on these buildings. Think Archimedes' mirror, or perhaps a plasma storm-like event that left its trace realm-wide. Look at the Black Pyramid of Egypt. It is clear one of those great pyramids of Egypt exposed to one of these events, leaving the top melted and blackened and deformed. I think there are many pyramids like this Black Pyramid still to be found all across the world. Many think these are the results of a man-made event, like an ancient nuclear war. Others, like myself, I believe this was a plasma storm, part of a repeating cycle like the mud flood. Whatever the cause, it definitely left its mark the world over. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
It certainly does look like that stuff is melted, doesn't it? This just makes me think of the stories of the Anunnaki battles that were fought from the sky with fire. If they were raining down fire over large areas having these battles, you would completely expect to see damage like this to the structures in the area. We just happen to be lucky enough that all these structures were stone and could withstand the heat for the most part. I don't know, of course, if that's the cause, but it certainly makes sense to me. What do you guys think?
Have you guys heard that crazy theory about the Challenger and how people think that no one actually died on it? I mean, how ridiculous is that? I remember watching it from my classroom, so I know it's true. I mean, I literally watched them with my own eyes on TV walk out and head to the shuttle. And then again, I watched them with my own eyes on TV getting into the shuttle. There would have to have been like some escape hatch or secret way to get out of there for it not to be true.
Once the crew are on board, if it looks as if they're in danger, they get out and head down this tube. specially insulated against fire, and zigzagging down not to some point out and away from the rocket, but to an escape room exactly where you'd think it shouldn't be. Three and a half minutes after they get the warning in the capsule, the crew could be down here in the blast escape room via that 200-foot escape tube, 40 feet below the base of the rocket. They find themselves in a totally rubber room, walls and floors, and they head for safety through a 6-inch steel door. Once they're behind that door, it doesn't matter what comes down this tube behind them.
Oh, you mean like a bunch of angry, pissed-off taxpayers that realize they've been lied to for a long time? And if it wasn't true, we have the internet now. I mean, we would have found all of those astronauts perfectly well and alive somewhere, and I mean, that hasn't happened. This was all for entertainment purposes, of course. I know that these are all just perfect doppelgangers. They're not actually just still living, and it wasn't trauma-based mind control. Nope. Entertainment only, people. Come on, I'm a satire account. You should know this by now.
When you have that many astronauts who were supposed to have died on a shuttle launch, how would you hide them? They have to live out the rest of their lives still. So if they're supposed to have died, it would only make sense that they would take on a different identity and go on with life. But when you have basically every member accounted for and they're double exposed, the circumstantial evidence starts to get overwhelming to the point of absurdity. It can't just be a coincidence that every one of those astronauts either had a twin or has an identical doppelganger with an eerily similar name. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you like this type of content, I post a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday. It'd be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
I'm not going in there. No f***ing way. Just leave me alone. I don't believe it.
The implications, according to a report by Brookings Institute, could shatter the very foundations of not only philosophy and religion, but even science.
We were just a couple of guys camping, fishing, and we were excited about getting out of the city and being in the wilderness, going somewhere where we'd never been, getting some fishing done, paddling canoes. It was fun.
That's the way it started out for four friends on a weekend fishing trip along Maine's Allagash River. Charlie Foltz, Chuck Rack, and twin brothers Jack and Jim Weiner were all art students together in Boston.
The last thing on our minds was any UFOs or anything like that. We just wanted to go fishing. It was very, very dark. So we decided to build a fire so we could find our way back to our campsite. We built a huge fire. We built it to last several hours because we expected to be out there fishing for several hours. You know, all four of us climbed in one canoe with our fishing equipment and headed out into the lake. We were out there for approximately 15 or 20 minutes fishing with no luck. And suddenly, Chuck Rack said, "Hey guys, that's a heck of a case of swamp gas." And we turned around, and probably 150, maybe 200 yards away at the most, coming out of the trees was this huge ball of glowing, pulsating light. I remember it as being a very bright, round sphere of light that had kind of a roiling quality to it. It was yellow-white in nature. It hovered totally silently over the trees. Hovering there above the trees, motionless. So we thought, well, it's obviously not an airplane because airplanes don't hover. So Charlie Foltz said, well, maybe we should signal it with a flashlight that we had with us. And we thought, well, sure, go ahead, signal it. You know, what's going to happen? The minute he did that, as soon as he signaled it, it started moving towards us. The next thing I remembered was seeing the beam coming right towards the back of the canoe. And at that point, we started paddling very quickly towards the shore. As I was paddling, I was looking over my shoulder to see where this object was in relation to our canoe. And it kept just following us, coming closer and closer and closer. I was in a panic, to be honest with you. A second later, it was right on, almost on top of us with this beam coming across the water right towards our canoe. And I remember thinking, well, we're not going to outrun this thing. There's no way we're going to outrun this thing. And then the next thing I remembered was standing on the beach.
No one remembers how they got to the beach. Strangely, their bonfire, which had been raging just a few minutes before, had completely burned out. The UFO was gone.
Elapsed time we thought was 15 or 20 minutes, tops. And we couldn't understand why the fire had burnt down so soon. The four of us were just left there standing on the beach in total silence. We didn't really even talk to each other. I guess we were in shock.
The Allagash Four were baffled by the UFO and the apparent missing time. It was a mystery that would remain unsolved for more than 12 years, until the Wiener brothers began having violent nightmares.
Get away from me! And then I would wake up and I would be drenched in sweat and my heart would be beating really fast, and it was like a horrible, horrible nightmare, and it kept recurring and recurring. We started having nightmares about being in some room or some area with these strange creatures around us. I said, I can't believe you're telling me this, because I've been having the same dream.
Jim went to a psychiatrist for help with his night terrors. His doctor referred him to Ray Fowler, an alien abduction researcher.
I think that the Wieners opened Pandora's box, because now they have questions about reality that they never had before. They have questions for which there are no answers.
Each of the Allagash Four underwent hypnosis. Each was regressed separately, but all told the same story about what they had experienced in 1976. Their sessions were recorded.
A beam is coming towards us. I don't know what it's going to do. It makes me feel like I'm flying apart. I remembered the pressure, a heat of my physical body being ripped to shreds, like on a molecular level. I mean, it's the only way I can verbalize it, but it is an extremely unpleasant feeling. It feels like death. I had no idea where I was. Then I realized that the three guys were sitting to my left on this bench, naked. All I knew was I was in a strange place, laying naked, paralyzed, with this thing coming towards me. Creatures that I remembered, they reminded me of bugs. No eyelids, they didn't blink. I remember these creatures examining my brother with a type of wand, is what it appeared to me as. It was a long, thin instrument, maybe the diameter of a pencil, a little over a foot long, with a bulbous end on it. The next thing I remembered was they turned me over, and then they were doing some type of anal exam, and it terrified me. I remember them taking a sperm sample from me. They flooded my mind with images of lovemaking and sexual visions, which aroused me. But it was totally out of my control. The next thing I knew, we were standing on the beach.
If their stories were true, the implications were astonishing. Fowler questioned the credibility of the witnesses.
I wasn't surprised when he asked us, would we be willing to take a polygraph test? I mean, I'd asked the same question.
Ernest Reed, a licensed polygraph examiner for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, conducted the tests and interpreted the results.
After administering the examinations, reviewing the charts in detail, after talking with both of the brothers, there is absolutely, positively no doubt in my mind that they are being absolutely honest with me when they tell me that they were confronted by a phenomena in the Allagash region.
One person might fool a polygraph examiner, but you have four all passing the tests, and the polygraph examiner being convinced that all four are telling the truth is very important.
I think lost time when it comes to alien abduction accounts is one of the most fascinating aspects of it all. We had a really great story in the last episode of the podcast where a man recounts a lost time event during a UFO sighting that spans several hours. Speaking of the podcast, as I know many of you are waiting on an update, I have decided to teach Dave to edit the podcast because I just have too much on my plate. So that's what the hang up is. I'm teaching him how to do that. It's being edited now. It should be out soon.
You know, I'm watching all these debates take place in depth about gravity and celestial navigation and prediction of eclipses, and I'm sitting here thinking globe proponents act as if they've made it past level 1. The curvature of the Earth. Why are you debating in-depth topics? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone when you can't even explain why there's no curve. You talk about, oh, the heliocentric model can make predictions accurately. Well, the globe has a prediction also, and that's that the horizon is 3 miles away from a 6-foot observer's height. Looking out. Bam. Okay, well that prediction's wrong, because we can set a camera 1 foot above the water and see a boat 10 miles out over the ocean, and see a horizon far beyond that boat. The supposed radius value is debunked, my friend. Now, hold them to it. Why are you allowing them to blow past the demonstrable reality that we observe, crushing their globe, and let them debate these in-depth topics that we're not even close to being there yet? And when we do get there, we should go there unified, with the same understanding that the radius value has been debunked. It's gone. The Earth is demonstrably flat, and anyone can demonstrate that to themselves through observation and physical experimentation. And to add insult to injury, you talk about the heliocentric model making all these predictions only can be made from the heliocentric perspective. Do you realize that the luminaries above are cyclical, and we've collected the data by observing the celestial bodies do their cycles? And all of that data was collected from a geocentric perspective. We observed these from the ground, geocentrically, meaning here we are on the Earth watching things move around us, and we collected that data, and now we have what you all call the heliocentric model, when it was just mathematically created from a geocentric reference point, the data. Wild, huh?
I don't think this proves necessarily that the Earth is flat, but perhaps that it's much bigger than we're being led to believe. If the Earth were bigger, it could still be round, and yes, I realize that sounds like I'm trying to justify a globe, but bear with me. If the Earth were bigger, then that curvature would just be less prominent than we're told, and that could explain why there appears to be no curvature. Though at that point, if the evidence is saying the Earth is flat, maybe that's the reality of the situation. But I just can't wrap my head around how we have supposedly round planets all around us, but we're supposedly flat and vastly different than everything else in existence.
There's a movie that if you watch it, I can personally guarantee you will be thinking about it for days after. Now, there is some awareness of this film on TikTok because I've seen some people posting clips. It's a very quotable movie. It's a film that gets referenced a lot, especially in old TV shows, but always in the context of making fun of it. Here's Family Guy, here's The Simpsons doing a bit about it, here's the show Community parodying one of the scenes. The movie they're all referencing and making fun of is called My Dinner with Andre. It's from 1981. The reason people made fun of My Dinner with Andre is because the film is literally two guys having a dinner, not just eating quietly for 2 hours, but it's about the discussion they have over that dinner. And a lot of you have immediately either stopped watching this video or decided you will never watch this thing. Treat it like a podcast, I don't know. But the discussion they have is something that I see people having every day on here and on the internet and on any podcast that's about like the meaning of modern life. The setup is that this guy, Wallace Shawn, you've seen him in The Princess Bride, has been invited to a dinner with a friend who he has been avoiding for months because the friend is crazy. He's a writer, his friend is in theater, and years ago his friend dropped out of society, and last he heard the guy had joined a weird cult or something. So now this guy's been pestering him like, oh, we got to get together, and he's like, I do not want to talk to this guy. But at the start of the film he finally relents and they sit down, and what ensues is this guy going off on what sounds like a very crazy rant and him becoming slowly more and more intrigued. And the premise is that this guy has decided that modern life is phony and spiritually barren. And so what he did was he went off on an eat, pray, love type adventure to reconnect with himself and spirituality and the world. Whereas he stayed behind and just lived his normal day-to-day life in New York in his little apartment and going to his job. And the thing that caused this guy to kind of abandon his life and leave the country is the idea that everyone is just playing a role, that no one is actually acting on their own desires. You know, you get up in the morning, if you put on pants, why did you do that? Well, you did it because other people expect you to wear pants. They get mad if you don't. But why do they expect you to wear pants? Because other people expect them to expect you to wear pants. Everybody is simply acting based on what society has told them is expected, but most people cannot identify where that expectation comes from. So the question he's asking is, where inside you is the actual thing you want to do versus what moment to moment you have been told society expects you to do? All of the choices you make throughout the day in terms of how you groom yourself, what you eat, how you talk, how you dress, everything is based on society setting these rules. And his assertion is that modern humans, that there's basically nothing left after the expectations, where it's actually just, okay, well, what do you actually want? Are you picking a partner, a romantic partner, based on what you're expected to desire? Or are you actually going after what your own heart wants? But what's great about the film is that it is not trying to convince you that this guy is right, because he pushes back, saying that there's no reason you can't find meaning just walking around at the corner convenience store. That those people's lives, the people on the subway, the people you just run into, are just as deep and meaningful as the lives this guy ran into traveling the world. The movie is more than 40 years old, but every single word of this is more relevant now than it was then. Because everything he says about how modern life can kind of lure you into sleepwalking through your own life, where you have people close to you going through crises that you don't even recognize because you're so distracted and so obsessed with your own presentation to the world. All of the trends they discuss and bring up are more pronounced now in the social media age than they were then. Anyway, you can watch it for free. It is two guys having dinner, but it is not boring if you listen to what they're saying.
I wanted to put this in here because I feel like we've all seen clips from this movie with the Andre character talking about how society is designed to control your daily actions. I know I've shown a clip or two from the movie on the channel here before, and I've always wanted to see the entire movie. I looked it up and you can watch this on HBO Max right now. I just wanted to let everybody know. One thing I always think about when I see a video like this is what are they planning to do if they show up down there and the satanic cult that's been performing rituals down there is hiding and waiting for them. Surely some of these places have security cameras. If you're doing something you shouldn't be, most people try to go the extra mile and hide it. These guys are lucky that place was deserted. I also can't help but wonder where the other entrance to that place is. Surely all those people aren't climbing down through that little hole every time they enter the cave. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And check out www.barry-stepp.com if you'd like to order yourself a shirt or a hat and help me support the channel. Also, don't forget to post your photos of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But with all that out of the way, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.